Just wait till you're seated in your director's chair there. Form check Friday. Form check Friday. Form check Friday. Welcome back once more, guys. We're here at Calgary Barbell. We're gonna check some form out to do the timing update. Where are we at? We're up to July 3rd as of the end of this episode. So if you're not in this episode, you've submitted before July 3rd, but you haven't heard anything back, or you weren't displayed on this lovely TV today, let us know, man. We're not trying to screw anybody over. Anyways, first up, Yu is his name. Conventional deadlifting is his game. He tore his hamstring. Deadlifting, it's actually in this video. It's hard to see. He just kind of walked away like, ooh, and apparently he tore his hamstring there. So I'm sorry to hear that, man. Hopefully it gets better. I would say in a lot of these warm-up reps here, it looks like you're just really, really rushing it. Just like not taking enough time to set up and just kind of ripping through a lot of these warm-up sets. So first thing I would do is slow down a little bit. The next thing I'm noticing is right as you initiate your pull, we have a bit of a tendency to shift from sort of midfoot to way back on the heels, and the hips kick back behind you, putting you in a little bit more of a stiff leg position, which is going to put a little bit more stress on the hamstring. Now, I sincerely doubt that this is the reason that you tore your hamstring, but I'm certain that it contributed to it. So I think that if we can get into a little bit more of a midfoot, quad involved style of deadlifting, we're probably gonna see a little bit less stress on that hamstring, especially as you're rehabbing yourself from this injury. Hopefully that rehab's going well and things are feeling pretty good. Hopefully it was a minor thing, but let's try and watch. And you can see it right as you initiate your deadlift. Everything shifts from good position to butt like way back behind you, getting into a little bit of a stiff leg position. So let's be a little bit more patient in the setup, slow down some of your warm-ups, get into a little bit more of a purposeful and deliberate groove with your deadlifts. Hopefully that goes a long ways to fixing you up, man. All the best of luck with recovery. Next up, we have some deadlifts from Cordell. Now, Cordell, he's wondering about his foot position, where his toes should be pointing. He said he's having trouble with timing his knees at lockout, a lot of stuff like that. And honestly, a lot of that stuff, my man, I know you don't want to hear this, but it's just going to be trial and error trying to figure that out. I don't really have any hard and fast rules to say you're a wide stance sumo puller, you're a narrow stance sumo puller, etc. But there are a couple things we can take a look at with your deadlift here. So number one, it looks like, especially on the first rep of this set, we could do a way better job of pulling the slack out. It looks like, and you noted this in your email, on that first rep, you kind of get pulled forward as you initiate the pull. I think that's a result of not being as tight against the bar as we could when we first initiate. It looks like subsequent reps are a lot better because you're a little bit tighter against the bar. Your body kind of knows what to expect a little bit better. Not a technical description of that at all, but being a little bit tighter into the bar and pulled in a little bit tighter goes a long ways. Another thing is it looks like you're a little bit overextended as you get to lockout, which can cause a little bit of issue with your balance at lockout, maybe the timing with the knee lock and that kind of stuff. So let's try and neutralize that overextension, specifically in the low back. It looks like your mid back and your upper back. I like the position there. Low back looks a little bit extended, especially through lockout. So let's try and focus on finishing with hip extension. And again, I talk about these drills all the time, but things like bird dogs, dead bugs, McGill crunches, those kinds of things can really teach you how to put your sort of midsection chunk in a really good neutral position. And if you can hold that neutral position, you're gonna be able to finish with hip extension as opposed to biasing or putting too much back extension through your lockout. So let's try that, hopefully it helps. The last thing I wanted to say, actually I ended up saying that first, but stance, a lot of that stuff is gonna be kind of trial and error. So hopefully that little bit of work with the extension and pulling the slack out of the bar a little bit better. Hopefully go a long ways towards you feeling a little bit more comfortable with the movement. All in all though, really good starting point. You should be happy with how it looks so far. So our next submission here comes from Aaron Gidman. Excuse me, Aaron. Got a couple videos here. First video, sumo deadlift. Not, again, taking the time to pull the slack out of the bar as well as I would like. You're relatively good and tight, but we can get tighter. And we're also missing a little bit of extension just by way of where the shoulders are positioned. You'll notice the shoulders are kind of rounded forward here. I think we can get them pulled back into a little bit of a better position. Now the next thing, Aaron submitted a conventional video as well here. Now, with the conventional, he said his sumo's been improving, but his conventional, he finds it really tough to get into a good position. Now, very similar issues. Again, rushed the setup, didn't quite pull the slack out of the bar or pull himself into the bar enough. And that's leading to the shoulders over the bar, bit of a longer lever than necessary because of the way you're getting pulled over the bar. So it's just more apparent with the conventional. You can get away with some of those a little bit better, you can anyways, in sumo, but your conventional really points out all those weaknesses and shows just how much your upper back is rounding out over the bar. Aaron also submitted some squats here. Now, squats look mostly good. I don't really have too much to say about these. They're a little bit rushed on the descent, leading to a little bit of a loss of position in the hole, but pretty standard fare. I think that's a really common thing, and you know, like I said, squats look mostly good. Now this last one is another sumo deadlift. Now this one looks much better. You're still not super neutral or extended in the upper back, but your shoulders are in a much better position in terms of being over the bar and in terms of being locked in, and it looks like you did a better job of pulling the slack out of the bar of that rep. So what I would do if I was you is I would take a look at that rep and take a look at the first rep from this email that you submitted and note the differences, right? Try to replicate this second one or more towards this second one because it looked a lot better. Next, we have a video submission from Daniel. Now, Daniel, first and foremost, is doing some deadlifts and he's saying that he's getting a little bit of back pain. Now, if we watch your feet, you're initiating and doing most of the lift really forward, kind of on the ball of your foot. Now what that's gonna do is it's gonna put everything out over the bar, which causes your low back to have to do a lot more work to stabilize than it should. So I would say that's the first thing to fix. You can see as you get towards lockout, you rock back to a neutral foot on your heel. Let's try to get that weight back on your heels a little bit more to start with, and that's gonna not only put you in a better position over the bar so you don't have to overextend, which is kind of another thing I'm seeing here, but it's gonna get you in a better position throughout the whole lift, and you're probably gonna get a lot less back pain. So I would start there. The next thing, Daniel also submitted some squats right here. And we're seeing a similar thing, issue sort of rocking around on the feet as he gets into the bottom. Weights rocking forward, this way on his feet. Now, one thing I'm noticing that is the same from video to video is your footwear choice. Now, really nice shoes. I think those are, I don't know anything about shoes. Those are like nice, trendy, fashionable shoes, but probably not the best shoes to be lifting heavy weights in. So what I would look at is a better weightlifting shoe. Now it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Chuck Taylors have been working wonders for lifters for years and years. I did my first 2 to 3 years of lifting in them. But just something that's a little bit less compressible, pillowy, cushioned kind of thing, and a little bit more of a sturdy, flat, non-compressible sole. So let's look at the shoes, because I think a lot of your issues are coming from your feet, buddy. Now our last video for today comes from Connor. Connor from Australia. Thanks for submitting all the way from out there. Doing some deadlifts here. And as you can see, touch and going sumo deadlifts. Generally not something I would recommend. If there's a specific purpose behind it, please enlighten me. I may be mistaken in my analysis of it, but most sumo deadlifters Hardest part of the deadlift, first inch off the floor. If you're continually skipping that range of motion, I believe that you're doing yourself a disservice by losing out on a lot of the training effect that's going to strengthen your weakest link with the sumo deadlift. So by touch and going your reps, we're missing out on having to break the floor every rep, which in my opinion is very, very integral as a skill. So learning how to break the floor properly, technique-wise, as a psychology aspect, could be because in a sumo deadlift, it's going to feel so much heavier off the floor, so you have to think about it differently and expect that it feels heavy off the floor. And lastly, as a strength thing, you're having to break the you're having to break the bar off the floor repeatedly. You're going to get stronger at breaking the floor repeatedly. So for a number of reasons, there's my long-winded explanation, but I don't recommend touch and go deadlifts. And it also looks like you could take an extra second to get a little bit tighter against the bar with your first pull. It looks like you're in the habit of tightening up at the top of the deadlift and then coming down, touching and going back up. What I would do for you is, because of your comfort with that style of setup, is I would set up from the top down, but I would make sure to reset every rep. That's it for today's episode, guys. Keep those submissions coming. Like I said, we're on July 3rd, and we're making our way through. Thanks again to everybody for all the submissions. We really enjoy doing it. We know you guys dig these shows or this episode or this style of video, whatever the hell you want to call it. We're happy to keep making them, so please keep submitting. Leave a like if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of this kind of stuff and more other videos. And we'll see you guys next week.